Hey guys, sorry this particular recording is so late. I was in meetings all day and then had to take care of Elijah for, that time. So I am finally getting to it. I'm gonna start recording ahead of time so that way if I do come to this point, then they won't be at 8:30 at night. So anyway, so we're gonna continue on. We left off with Jerome having an opportunity to see Carlos and Carlos kind of helping out his family and walking his sister to school. And Jerome saying at the very end, like, if I squint my eyes, I can imagine Carlos as me, which I took as he had for a moment that opportunity to pretend that, he was still alive and he was the one that was walking his sister to school and not someone else. So we're now back at the preliminary hearing of the courthouse. So the trial against the officer who shot Jerome, April 19th, day 2. Calling Officer Moore back to the stand, the prosecutor says, I look for Sarah. She's not in the room. Maybe her parents have decided the hearing is too much. They're protecting her like my family tried to protect me. I wish I could tell them it isn't working. Sarah already sees me better than her dad ever did. Strangely, courtroom benches remind me of church pews, long, hard, polished wood. Grandma's having trouble breathing, whispering. Ma wraps her arms around her. Emmett appears, stands behind Grandma, and amazingly, she lets out a big sigh. Breathes clear, deep. She pats Ma's hand. I'm okay. Officer Moore slips into the witness chair. He's sworn in for a second time. Do you swear to tell the truth? I do, he answers. Eyes front, looking over my family's heads. He sits. You thought the victim, a child, was a large man. Objection, not a question, Your Honor. Sustained. You were in fear for your life. Objection, not a question. Repeat testimony. Sustained. The judge leans forward. Even though she's trying to hide it, she's irritated. Do you have a question, counselor? Yes, I do, Your Honor. The prosecutor turns, walks away from the judge and officer. He looks at Pop. Then, turning back to the stand, says loudly, seriously, why was the child shot in the back? Uproar, panic, stomping, cameras flashing. No photos, asserts the clerk. Reporters are shouting questions. Community activists are demanding justice. Ma, Pop, and Grandma huddle, cling, and cry. Order, order, the gavel bangs again and again. Officer Moore's wife shuts her eyes. Officer Moore looks pained. I see the skull beneath his face. The video shows me shot in the back. People knew. This is the first time the lawyer has said it, but everybody knew this moment would come. Sarah's parents, the other lawyer, my folks. He was running away. Why did you shoot? Sound dies. There's tense quiet. Like this second is the most important moment in the world. The answer unlocks the universe. I was in fear for my life. Officer Moore's eyes are bleak. You're under oath. I was in fear for my life, he says more forcefully. If I were alive, my whole body would be trembling. Officer Moore speaks, I think, a truth he believes. When truth's a feeling, can it be both? Both true and untrue? In truth, I feared for my life. I'm going to keep reading. So the next chapter is Rome. Before I do, one of the questions I asked is if you thought that Officer Moore was a bad person, like a bad guy for doing what he did to Jerome. And those of you who responded said, yes, he absolutely is. What I find interesting is that as Jerome is listening to this, he says that he thinks that what Officer Moore is saying is a truth that Officer Moore believes, that Officer Moore was in fear for his life. And then the very end, the last sentence is Jerome saying, in truth, I feared for my life. Of course, if we were together, I would say, what do you think about that? And like, what does that mean? And then we'd have a conversation right away. But I would love to hear what you guys think of what you think he means by that. And And I'll try to remember to put the question in the email. So we're going to keep reading. The next section is called Rome, not the city, but like roaming around. The dirt strip in front of our apartment has wild dandelions. No longer weeds, they've grown puffy yellow tops. I haven't seen Emmett. I'm relieved. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see Sarah either. I'm not sure how to help her. I'm not even sure I want to. People tell the dead, rest in peace. I haven't any rest or peace. I roam, seeing neighborhoods I've never seen before. And some people live in huge houses with blooming roses, yellow, red, white, planted in their yards, with cats perched on windowsills. Some houses have painted fences that their dogs rush, tails wagging, barking. Animals know I'm still here. I wish I'd had one, a big dog like a black lab or a German shepherd. Chicago is more beautiful than I ever thought. I didn't know there were parks with swings, slides, running, and bicycle tracks. I didn't know there were over 100 skyscrapers, or Lincoln Park Zoo with African penguins striped black and white. I wish I could tell Carlos that Chicago has a river walk too. Moms push strollers, men and women run in black tights, kite surfers ride the river. Wish I'd tried it. Wish I'd known the world was so much bigger and better than my neighborhood. I've stopped shadowing Ma and Pop. It's too painful watching them act like robots. It's like they got shot too. They're not happy like before. Ma and Pop used to laugh, play cards, fuss over me and Kim. Inside the house, it's worse. Pop passes my closed bedroom door. He doesn't check on Kim before he goes to work. In the kitchen, Ma, shoulders hunched, barely eats, speaks. No goodbyes between her and Pop. They don't hug or kiss, just work, sleep, try to forget. Grandma and Kim don't mind their grief showing, especially over dinner. They talk about me, cry. Hurting, they seem real, alive. I worry about Mom and Pop. I worry Mom and Pop will get used to trying not to feel. So used to it, one day they won't feel anything anymore. That'd be worse than me dying. I wander Green Street, drifting behind Grandma and Kim on their way to school, then shadowing Kim and Carlos coming home. Both ways I pass Green Acres. I keep my eyes forward, not wanting to see where I was killed. All right, I'll read a little bit longer. So the next section, preliminary hearing, Chicago Courthouse, April 19th. So this is the next day. It's just 2 pages. After lunch, everyone files back into the courtroom. Officer Moore sits next to his lawyer. The prosecutor, I guess he's my lawyer, sits alone. He seems confident, relaxed. Everyone stands when the judge enters. Her face isn't still. Brows twitch, her lips tighten. She breathes deep. Something's wrong. She's got tender eyes, but as she speaks, her voice is robot calm. As a reminder, this is a hearing not to determine innocence or guilt, says the judge, looking everywhere, yet nowhere, but rather if there is enough evidence for the state to file criminal charges against Officer Moore.
I need to eat blueberry and sugar.
Oh.
What is that?
But rather if there is enough evidence for the state to file criminal charges against Officer Moore. I reread that. The circumstances are beyond a doubt tragic. The court truly regrets the death of Jerome Rogers. But everyone sucks in air, holds their breath. Stillness, silence. Not even a fly buzzes. Justice is tempered by the fact that a police officer's job is incredibly hard and complicated. An emergency 911 call, a young man with a realistic looking gun, a concern for police safety, and an officer's fear for his life are all facts I've considered. In the opinion of this court, there is not enough evidence to charge Officer Moore with excessive force, manslaughter, or murder. And that's where we're going to stop. So my 2 questions that I have is one about him fearing for his life. And what do you think he meant by that? And then the other question that I'm going to pose is, how do you feel about the end of that section? So basically, what the judge is saying is that she believes that Officer Moore did fear for his life, and so therefore they're not going to continue to charge. They're not going to charge him with murder of Jerome. So I look forward to hearing about your thoughts, and I will see you all later. Have a good night, guys.